Canada's political landscape shifted dramatically in early 2025. Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of England, assumed the role of Prime Minister. His election brought a wave of optimism. Carney, known for his steady hand during the 2008 financial crisis, promised stability and economic growth. However, escalating trade tensions with the United States have thrown a wrench into Carney's plans. On March 23, 2025, just weeks after taking office, Carney announced a snap election. The Prime Minister cited the growing threat of U.S. protectionism as a key factor in his decision. Carney's move highlights the seriousness of the situation. The trade war, once a distant rumble, now threatens to engulf Canada's economy. The Prime Minister's decision to call an election reflects his belief that this issue requires a clear mandate from the Canadian people. Canadians now face a stark choice. The outcome of the election will determine how Canada responds to the growing protectionist tide south of the border. The stakes are high, and the world is watching. The trade war between the United States and Canada escalated rapidly in early 2025. On March 12, 2025, the Trump administration imposed a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports from all countries, including Canada. The Canadian government, caught off guard by the move, immediately retaliated. Canada imposed tariffs on approximately $20 billion worth of U.S. goods, targeting products ranging from orange juice to playing cards. These tit-for-tat tariffs marked a significant escalation in the trade war. The tariffs have created uncertainty for businesses on both sides of the border. The situation is further complicated by the ongoing renegotiation of the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA. The Trump administration argues that the tariffs are necessary to protect American jobs and industries. However, many economists warn that the tariffs will ultimately harm the U.S. economy by raising prices for consumers and businesses. The trade war is already having a significant impact on the economies of both the United States and Canada. The OECD, in its March 2025 economic outlook, downgraded its growth forecast for both countries. For Canada, the OECD predicts growth will slow to a mere 0.7% in both 2025 and 2026. This is a significant drop from the previous forecast of 2% growth. The slowdown is attributed directly to the negative impact of U.S. tariffs on Canadian exports. The U.S. economy is also feeling the pain. The OECD has revised its U.S. growth forecast downward to 2.2% in 2025 and 1.6% in 2026. The tariffs, which have increased the cost of imported goods, are contributing to rising inflation in the United States. The trade war is not just hurting the U.S. and Canada. The OECD warns that the tariffs could trigger a global trade war, leading to slower growth and higher prices worldwide. The organization has called for a swift resolution to the dispute. The escalating trade war and the resulting economic uncertainty are having a tangible impact on Canadian travel plans. Many Canadians are now reconsidering or canceling their trips to the United States. A recent survey by a Canadian travel agency found that over 40% of respondents were less likely to travel to the United States due to the trade war. The respondents cited concerns about potential cost increases, anti-Canadian sentiment, and the overall political climate. The tourism industry, a significant contributor to the U.S. economy, is already feeling the pinch. Hotels, airlines, and tourist attractions in popular destinations frequented by Canadians are reporting a decline in bookings. The decline in Canadian tourism is a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the U.S. and Canadian economies. The trade war is not just about tariffs and trade deficits, it is also about people, relationships, and shared experiences. Beyond the economic statistics and political posturing, the trade war between the United States and Canada has a deeply personal impact on people's lives. Families and friendships that straddle the border are feeling the strain of the political divide. Take for instance the story of Sarah, a Canadian woman who has been visiting her family in Maine every summer for the past 2 decades. This year, however, Sarah decided to cancel her annual trip. The rising cost of travel, coupled with her growing unease about the political climate in the United States, made her rethink her plans. Sarah's story is not unique. Countless Canadians are grappling with similar dilemmas. The trade war has introduced an element of uncertainty and tension into relationships that were once taken for granted. The economic impact of the trade war is undeniable. However, it is important to remember that the human cost of this dispute extends far beyond dollars and cents. The trade war is eroding trust, straining relationships, and fostering division between two countries that have long been friends and allies. Section 6. The future of U.S.-Canada trade relations. The outcome of the Canadian election will undoubtedly influence the trajectory of the trade dispute. A victory for Carney's party could embolden Canada to take a tougher stance against U.S. protectionism. However, even if a negotiated settlement is reached, the damage to the relationship may be difficult to repair. The trade war has exposed deep-seated tensions and mistrust between the two countries. The Trump administration's willingness to use tariffs as a bargaining chip has undermined Canada's confidence in the U.S. as a reliable trading partner. The trade war has also fueled anti-American sentiment in Canada. The path forward is fraught with uncertainty. However, one thing is clear: a return to the pre-trade war status quo is unlikely. The relationship between the U.S. and Canada has been fundamentally altered. Despite the challenges, there are glimmers of hope for a resolution to the U.S.-Canada trade dispute. Both countries have a vested interest in finding a solution that works for businesses and workers on both sides of the border. One potential path forward is for both sides to return to the negotiating table with a renewed commitment to compromise. The U.S. could consider rolling back its steel and aluminum tariffs, while Canada could offer concessions on dairy and other protected industries. Another possibility is for Canada to seek closer economic ties with other countries. Diversifying its trading partners would reduce Canada's reliance on the U.S. market and give it more leverage in future trade negotiations. Ultimately, a successful resolution will require both sides to prioritize cooperation over confrontation. The U.S. and Canada must recognize that they are stronger together than they are apart. Trade war between the U.S. and Canada is not an isolated incident. It is part of a broader trend of rising protectionism around the world. From the U.S.-China trade war to Brexit, countries are increasingly turning inward, erecting barriers to trade and investment. This trend toward protectionism poses a serious threat to the global economy. The free flow of goods, services, and capital has been a key driver of economic growth and prosperity for decades. Protectionist policies threaten to reverse this progress, leading to slower growth, job losses, and higher prices for consumers. The trade war between the U.S. and Canada serves as a cautionary tale for the rest of the world. It demonstrates how quickly trade disputes can escalate, causing collateral damage to economies and relationships. The global community must resist the siren song of protectionism. Countries should work together to strengthen the rules-based trading system and promote open markets. The alternative is a world fractured by trade wars, with dire consequences for us all. Section 9. Conclusion. A call for cooperation. The trade war between the U.S. and Canada is a lose-lose situation for both countries. The tariffs are harming businesses, costing jobs, and raising prices for consumers. The dispute is also straining the close relationship between the two countries. The time has come for both sides to put aside their differences and work together to find a solution. The U.S. and Canada have a long history of cooperation and shared prosperity. They must draw on this shared history to navigate the current challenges and build a more prosperous future together. The world is watching. The outcome of the U.S.-Canada trade war will have far-reaching implications for the global economy and the future of international cooperation. Let us hope that cooler heads prevail, and that this dispute can be resolved